Miss Dorit Kemsley, girl, she is not stopping, and she is definitely on a mission to discredit or take down, or I don't even understand what could be the end goal of what she wants to do to PK, because at the end of the day, I mean, he's kind of like the only ally that she has in a weird way. But anyways, I have some of the main information that Dorit, or better yet, Dorit's ghostwriter, wrote about PK and Dorit's marriage on her book. Basically, so now you definitely don't have to buy the book. You know what I mean? And we need to talk about it. But before we start, welcome back. I'm the real Andy of Beverly Hills. Welcome to another piece of tea. If you are new here, welcome to the Beverly Troop, where I keep it real and I mention it all. So make sure to subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Girl, let's talk about this mess. Look, it is not a surprise that the only juicy part of this book was going to be related to Dorit Kemsley's marriage, which, let's be honest, also, it might be juicy just because you want to know like the tea, but how many people really are that involved with Dorit that they need to know what really happened between the two of them, right? Now, not only that, we all know that in this book, we're only gonna get a version that is on Dorit's side, and is basically whatever Dorit told the ghostwriter, right? So it's even like more embellished of what really happened during the marriage, right? My thing is like, I don't trust Dorit, you know, so I just like, I'm not even on PK's team, you know. I believe that PK is a little bit of a strategic guy, you know, and I think PK is always only thinking about money and maybe fame, you know, and I think, of course, he played a role into the divorce as well, right? But Dorit definitely does not stay behind, you know. I think everything that Dorit is doing is basically the same, very strategic. Let's see how come we, you know, discredit this guy, so I am the victim, I am the one who everyone is gonna feel bad for, you know, and maybe I could get some deals from that. I think that that's what is going on over here. I think both of them are literally cut from the same cloth, you know what I mean? But anyways, Dorit was the one who decided to write a book and put it out there, so I'm guessing we need to talk about what Dorit put out there about her marriage, you know. She talks a lot about doing the show. According to her, she never wanted it to do Real Housewives, you know, and that the only reason why she did Real Housewives of Beverly Hills was because PK insisted on doing this show. Okay, so this is the first and probably one of the fewest statements that I'm actually going to agree with Dorit, just because PK did an interview recently where he said it from her own voice, you know, that the idea of Dorit doing Real Housewife really came from him, you know, after they moved back into the States because they were facing very financial hardship, you know, and friends of him told him that the only way to make it in LA is through money, power, or being a celebrity, you know, and they didn't have any money, they didn't have any power, so the only way, accessible way, will be to become a celebrity. And luckily for them, PK at the time was very good friends with Miss Lisa Vanderpump, so he pursued Lisa to present Dorit to the producers so she could become a housewife, right? Which is very similar to what Dorit is saying in the book. She's basically saying that she never really wanted it to do the show, and that she literally said the same thing that PK said. She said, like, in LA the only way to do it is through like money, power, or being a celebrity, and that was like our way into it. She never mentioned, Lisa Vanderpump. She never actually gave any credit to Lisa Vanderpump, right? But we all know that that's what happened there, right? Of course, because I think Dorit wants the world to believe that she could have been a housewife on her own, which we all know it was not possible, because, girl, you were broke, you had no money, and or power, and the only reason why you were on the show was because of Lisa Vanderpump. The same person that you decided to betray and backstab, that person, exactly. Karma, bitch. Anyways, so she said that, so I believe that part. I think that, again, this is what I'm saying, that PK is also very strategic, because it's like, okay, how are we gonna make it? We definitely need to become a celebrity, and they did what they had to do to become a celebrity. Now, she definitely goes into talking about the alcoholism. She says that he will transform into a different person, that she will get very nervous when he was drinking. I think in my mind, the reason why Dorit was so like worried about PK drinking, specifically on camera, was because she was always afraid of what could he said that will affect their brand, or will affect the way that viewers are actually seeing them. So I think that's the only reason why she keeps saying that he was such a raging alcoholic, right? Now, it's interesting, because for someone who wants to accuse someone of actual alcoholism, she never mentioned in the book that he was, extremely bad, or that he needed to like wake up and had a drink of alcohol, or that he was like selling stuff from the house to buy bottles of tequila, like it never was like that. It was just kind of like the relationship with alcohol, meaning like what I understood is like when PK drinks, he becomes more chatty, more without inhibitions, and then he might end up doing things that she doesn't like. Now, my thing is like, to me, it might not be alcoholism to me, and I think PK says something similar also in another interview, because he said, I am not an alcoholic, like that. I did have problems on my relationship with alcohol, and I work on those problems with my relationship with alcohol, meaning I still can drink. I now know how to control my drinking, So again, it's a different journey, and it's a different wording that Dorit is trying to use over here. Now, I think one of the interesting parts was that Dorit is definitely saying that PK was planning on leaving her way before a lot of things went down. And she talks about the robbery. She talks about how the robbery affected the relationship, because PK was filming a show on UK, so he needed to like be flying back and forward, and she was going through the whole trauma, so like she didn't know how to cope with all of that, and apparently that created even a bigger space into the marriage. And but now she says that PK was the one who, apparently a year before they actually separated, that he was reaching out to lawyers, and that in order to like leave the marriage. However, on the same book, almost on the same paragraph, she's saying that it's not even for sure that PK was like talking to a lawyer. She just said that she received a message one day, super random, about like the kids and the future and all of that, and she's like, oh, I know that PK did not write that text. I know that he was like talking to that text came from a lawyer, so he has been talking to a lawyer for like a year. But I'm like, girl, paranoid much? I mean, maybe it's possible, but like, are you really gonna go there without receipts, screenshots, proof, timeline, you know, like we need everything. So, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So anyways, she's basically like now kind of like turned this whole situation into like he was going to leave me, so I decided to leave him first, or like he is the bad one, he was the one thinking about abandoning his family for a long time ago, and there is not proof of that happening, you know. So again, it's kind of like going on with the victim mentality of like, I want to be the victim, I want everyone to feel bad for me. I don't know. And basically that's what she said about the marriage. I knew it was not gonna be anything like super scandalous. I knew it was not gonna be like, oh my god, the shocker, you know, like PK having an affair with Lisa Vanderpump. No, nothing of that. You know, it was very much kind of like assumptions, and there is something that you should never do in this life is live based on assumptions. Okay, if you want to make decisions, if you want to make things happen, do it through facts. Remember, feelings are not facts. You need to act on facts. So, but not a lot of people love to follow that advice, right? So anyways, let me know what you guys think on the comments below. And if you want to get all the tea related to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or any of the other Bravo shows, make sure to like this video, share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you around. See ya. Bye.